Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be making three things. The first thing we'll make is mayonnaise, and we'll make it from scratch. Now, I know many people, especially in the US, won't want to make their own mayonnaise. Probably mostly over not trusting the quality of the eggs that they're working with. Mayonnaise, after all, involves raw eggs. You can kind of pasteurize the yolks, but that's way beyond what I'm going to do in this video. The main purpose for going over mayonnaise is so that you can understand its place in salad dressing. And then we're going to make a ranch dressing, and we will make a blue cheese dressing. Now, in many cases, you're probably thinking, but I can get these things at the store. Trust me, once you get good at making these, you won't want to. These salad dressings are super simple, super easy. They don't take much time, and they're much better than what you can get out of a bottle. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and introduce mayonnaise first, and then I'll introduce the salad dressings after we go ahead and make our own mayonnaise. Mayonnaise, we're often told, is an emulsion of oil and some watery things, typically, from the eggs and so forth. What most people don't recognize is that mayonnaise is almost exclusively oil. It has a little bit of some other things in it, but basically it's texturized oil. And the emulsion gives it sort of that creamy texture. Now, you can find a couple of really good videos online about how to make your own mayonnaise. Each of them will cover slightly different aspects of it. So I recommend that if you do want to make your own mayonnaise, that you go and check some of them out. Gordon Ramsay has one. He uses a food processor, which I don't really like to use for reasons we'll get into. Jamie Oliver has another one. He uses a technique which is much closer to my own. The thing though is that if you decide you're going to go make your own mayonnaise, mayonnaise is kind of tricky in certain places, and so you want to go get some of these different tips and tricks from a bunch of different places. I'm going to cover a couple aspects that I haven't seen in either of their videos, just because there are a couple of nuances that often are missed. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. And so now our ingredients. For the mayonnaise, we have mustard. We're going to have an egg yolk, so I'm just going to take the yolk of this egg. Lemon and vegetable oil. Now this is listed as a frying oil, but basically it's just rapeseed and safflower. You want to use a neutrally flavored oil, so peanut oil is good, safflower is good, canola, rapeseed, whatever. You don't want to use something really heavy like olive oil unless you're careful about it, because you'll end up with a really heavy flavor. So let's go ahead and get started. This egg had 2 yolks, lucky me. To the egg yolk, I'm going to add my mustard. One thing that the other videos did not mention is that mustard, like egg yolk, is an emulsifier. You can add whatever you like. Most people start with about a spoonful. A small spoonful, like in this case, like a teaspoonful. I'm going to add a little more, because why not? Now, as I mentioned before, mustard, like egg yolk, is an emulsifier. This is why honey mustard dressings have a thicker consistency. But I'm going to start by basically stirring this together. And then I'm going to do this with a balloon whisk. I'm going to add just a little bit, just like maybe less than a tablespoon, just a little bit of oil. And we're going to stir this together. Once that's nice and smooth, I'm going to add a little more. If you add too much, what's going to happen is that it will what's called split. There are a few different ways of handling the split. The most typical is to start over and then add the splitted mayonnaise back into the new batch slowly. Another option is if you have a good part along with a part that's split, you can start with the area that's good and work the rest in slowly. And you'll see that this is growing in size a bit and it's thickening. And this is only actually going to take a few minutes to make. If you like homemade mayonnaise, definitely always make it yourself. It doesn't take that much time and effort. And you can see the consistency is already changing a bit. You see already I have this kind of nice base. So I'm going to start adding a little bit more at a time. And I'm going to, see, that's what a split looks like, which is fine. Because in this case, I'm just going to take a little area and I'm going to whip the rest of the olive oil into it gradually. Or the rest of the vegetable oil into it gradually. And you'll see this works pretty well. If I just went and whipped the whole thing together, the split would stay and we'd have a problem. So you can see this is continuing. I think Jamie Oliver has a tendency of like just pouring it right into his balloon whisk, which is cool. If you can make it work. I have trouble doing that. So I go back and forth. If you go back and forth, make sure to always work it in gradually, so that you avoid making the split impossible to cure. You can see this is starting to look okay. But I'm going to add a fair bit more oil. And working it in is a little easier if you tilt the bowl a little bit. And I think one more nice good sized batch, and then we're done. You can see what I mean when I say this is basically textured vegetable oil. And this is starting you can see how this side is nice and smooth, this side is still split. So now I just slowly work the split bit into the smooth bit, whip it nicely, and there we have our mayonnaise. Homemade mayonnaise. I could add more if I want, but this is what I'm going to use for the salad dressing. So you can see mayonnaise is basically textured oil. We use it in some salad dressings to give it a nicer flavor or a nicer texture. And then finally, at the end, we're going to squeeze in some lemon juice. So You have to squeeze this in at the end. So if you don't have a good emulsion built up, the acidity of the lemon juice will make that impossible. So now stir the lemon juice into our emulsion, and there we go. See, look, good old-fashioned mayonnaise. So now we have our mayonnaise. And so from this, we're going to make a ranch dressing. This is an American dressing, which is basically a buttermilk dressing with some herbs in it. Most of these American white dressings start with a buttermilk dressing, so we'll start there, and then we'll add some herbs, and then after that I will make a blue cheese dressing with blue Stilton. For the ranch dressing, we have mayonnaise, sour cream, buttermilk, lemon juice, and you can use either garlic, or in this case I can also use Buttermilk, which has a garlicky flavor. It's called ramps in English, but it's found very commonly here in Germany. I'm going to use the garlic powder today, but if you have ramps, you can use them instead. I'll put in some fresh ground pepper, and then you can use onion flakes, or in this case, we're going to use chopped chives and chopped fresh dillweed. Now, as always, salad dressing consists of two basic ingredients, which is an oil. In this case, we use mayonnaise. Now you can understand mayonnaise as an oil. An acid, in this case, buttermilk and some lemon. You can use white vinegar if you don't have any lemon. The buttermilk provides lactic acid. This provides citric acid. So I'm going to start with approximately an equal amount of creme fraiche and mayonnaise. Now, this combination makes for a very nice, or also similar, like you could use yogurt if you really want to make a sort of a different variation, but we're going to go ahead and mix this together. Now, if I was making a dip, I probably would just stop here and add lemon juice, but this is a little bit thick to go on a salad, at least with an American style dressing. So I'm going to thin it down to the desired consistency with buttermilk, and buttermilk's going to add some lactic acid, and it will make the whole thing sour, and also will thin it out a bit. So now we have something that looks about the right consistency. Add a bit of salt. A bit of pepper. And some lemon juice. Let me get that couple of seeds out. And if you wanted a buttermilk dressing, that's what this would be. Stir this together, and here we have a buttermilk dressing. Now, to go from a buttermilk dressing to a ranch dressing, we're going to add chives or onion flakes and fresh dillweed, and we're going to add some garlic powder also, although you could add this buttermilk instead. Add it pretty much however you like it. Stir it up. And that's your ranch dressing for you. And you're never going to find a ranch dressing in the store that's as good as this. Now, at this point, it's important to taste it. Understand that the herbal flavors are going to come out more over time, but if it's too sour, add more mayonnaise. And if it's if it needs more acidity, then add more lemon juice. Anyway, there's the ranch dressing. This, by the way, makes a great coleslaw. Just put it on shredded cabbage and away you go. And now for the blue cheese dressing. Same basic starting point. Start off with approximately equal portions. Mayonnaise and sour cream. Throw these together as a base. And again, if you're making a dip, like for wings or something, this is where you stop at this point. Then you just add your lemon juice, salt, pepper, and blue cheese. But if we're going to make a salad dressing, we want something a bit thinner. So we thin it down to the desired consistency with buttermilk. Maybe a little bit thinner than that. Looks about right. I have a potted blue Stilton here. Now I've chosen a potted blue Stilton because it is a very rich cheese. In fact, of course, any blue Stilton will work, but this is what they had for blue Stilton at the store, so that's what I'm going to use here. I find it amusing they have to warn people not to eat the wax. Before I take the wax off, I'm just going to go ahead and add my pepper. Lightly salt it. Stir this together. These flavors can last for a little bit, so next step is just to get the wax out. And potted blue Stilton has wax on the outside just to protect the cheese from oxidation. So I'm going to take some of the cheese and I'm going to take it out and I'm just going to crumble it in. You can use any other kind of firm blue cheese, but I like blue Stilton for this. And just look at that. And it doesn't take that much. Blue cheese has a lot of flavor, and that flavor will diffuse into the salad dressing over time. So then we're just going to stir this together. And I would say this sort of dressing is good to let sit for a couple of hours before you use it. Same with the ranch, because the flavors will diffuse better. But here you have a blue cheese dressing. Same approach works for Thousand Island and a few other dressings. Although I think Thousand Island might not start with a buttermilk dressing. I think it starts just with mayonnaise and some other things. But yeah, go ahead and enjoy. And here we have it. That's once you start making your own salad dressing, it's really hard to go back. I'm going to go ahead and do a taste test. I'll use a different spoon for each one, of course. But these ought to be totally delicious. So first, this is the ranch. As a kid, I went through a phase where I liked ranch dressing, and then I grew out of it. I didn't like it again. This reminds me of why I used to like it. It has the little bit of garlic, little bit of onion, the dill. It all blends very nicely, delicious. Can go on all kinds of things, veggies, pizza, whatever you like to put ranch dressing on. Really, really good. Now for the blue cheese. So even though Blue Stilton's a very strong blue cheese, because I didn't put that much in, this is a very nice, creamy, light blue cheese dressing. Delicious, adds that just kind of mild blue cheese flavor to salads or whatever you like. Definitely one of my favorites. Please enjoy. You can make coleslaws, whatever you like out of these. Delicious.